Chapter 1469 The colony strikes back. The number of troops on the platform just keeps going up. Even the front lines, which usually have a reasonable bit of space, are getting a bit squeezy. The number of mages and support troops back there is absurd. I don't know how many battalions are on here, but it's probably double what we had before. More ants, more humans and various other species, including more of the priests, we have. And cavalry, even some of the immortals are here. Solent is really pushing all the pieces out onto the board, isn't she? Sheesh, I knew things were getting rough, but this just goes to show how rough. With the craft pressing, we don't have just the wave to contend with now, but so much more. Well, I for one welcome the help, even if I can't keep track of everyone on my own platform at once. Case in point, I don't even notice the little creature next to me until it puts a hand on my leg. I look down and almost jump out of my carapace. I know that hunched over, bulbous forehead. Formo. I cry happily as the little sophis waves a claw up at me. I say, you got large, my boy. Very large. Indeed. I am indeed a magnificent specimen, I say, modestly. And quite the shiny core you have. A tier 7. Mythic. I'm impressed, lad. You've done well. Yes, but what brings you down here? And out on the platform. It's not safe here. Pa, of course it's not safe. It's the 5th, even. So, I wouldn't be here without a purpose. We are laying a little trap for the craft. A trap? You, what's going on? A moment of inspiration sends a thought spinning through my head. Wait, you managed to create 5th stratum pets. Is it possible for a sightless creature to have a twinkle in its eye? No it isn't, but there is a slight smile on the sophis face as he brings a single claw up before his lips. Keep this hush-hush, I say. If you start trying to sense them, the slugs might be tipped off. Just wait and watch. I mean, sure, I'm blasting out gravity magic, globs of lava, fire and unleashing the occasional chomp, as usual. Trying to hold off as much as possible without putting the rest of the platform at risk. I've learned my lesson. It's not hard for me to look busy, because I am. How long have you been here? I ask Formo. It's weird to see him. Last time I visited the sophis, I was already larger than them, but not this much larger. I tower over him to an absurd degree at this point, but I still feel a deep seated respect. The first time I saw him, he loomed over me on top of the most powerful monster I'd ever seen up to that point, his worm pet. I expected to be smooshed, but he was quite helpful, and has been ever since. Right now, all he's doing is standing around. I know he's probably directing pets with his thoughts, but for all intents and purposes, he might as well be asleep on his feet. Are there any crath out there right now? He asks me. Hard to say. They're being more careful now that they know I can spot them if they take shortcuts. I think there are, he says. They can smell something whiffy. Who can? No reply. Then, a few moments later, I spot something on the wall. It's a rock, or at least, it looks like a rock, but last time I checked, rocks don't wiggle. Before my eyes, the surface of the stone begins to shift and slide away, trying to remain hidden under the mucus. I see it. Should I attack? I ask Formo. What? There's no point, by Jove. That nasty fellow is already done with. It is. How? The slug tries desperately to slide away, but I can see it growing slower and slower each passing second. Before long, it grows still, then gradually peels off the wall and begins to sink, carried away by the endless flow of mucus. What did you do? Formo chuckles to himself. There are so many deadly little creatures in this stratum. You don't need to create a large and powerful pet to make something effective. This little chap is modified from a tiny core we snagged from a parasite. Only tier 2, but with quite the deadly bite. Another disturbance. This time, a mossy area of the wall is starting to undulate and writhe. Soon, a section starts to slide away as the craft tries to return to its brethren, but again, it's too late. Within a minute, another slug is slowly sinking down into the abyss. Holy moly, Formo nods. This experiment is quite successful. I think we have a proof of concept. Yes, already there. Being more careful. I think they know what I'm up to. Canny little blighters. Here, I'll bring it back and you can see it. See it? How? It takes a little while, but eventually he gets me to look down at the nearby mana channel coming from the nearest intake. If I look Carefully into the concentrated mana, I can see. A little wormy snake-looking thing no longer than a foot and no thicker than a pencil. It wiggles its tail at me before it changes color, blending in with its surroundings and vanishing right before my eyes. They'll be on the lookout now, Formo says, nodding to himself, but that works in our favor as well. They'll be more careful, knowing they aren't safe out there on the wall. Amazing. I can't believe you were able to get something so useful so quickly. Only possible here, I'm afraid, he says, shaking his head. The mutations and organs possessed by these little critters are incredibly deadly to something the size of a craft. My little friend would have trouble handling your carapace, he says, knocking me on the leg. But with something so soft and squishy. Pshaw. He turns back to the end of the platform. I'd love to stay and chat, old boy, but I must return to my work. Good luck out here. Good luck, I say. Chapter 1470. Mage Hand. Rathwin Werelos felt that he was in real danger. It was odd, in a sense. He was sitting in a quiet study, in a comfortable chair, drinking tea and eating delicious cakes with a book in his lap and his pipe between his teeth. On the surface, he seemed as safe as it was possible to be. His fellow Magio scholars were still feverishly documenting everything they could about the ant invasion, the nature of the fifth and the incredible discovery of the Chow, arguing loudly with each other almost every minute of the day. For his part, Rathwin was content to accept the hospitality of the colony and watch over his fellows, acting as the diplomat and keeping them from stepping on any antennae. Yet it felt so wrong. Here they were, engaged in studious activity and learning, debating, drinking tea, as if there wasn't an apocalyptic battle going on around them. The ants took care of them, but it was obvious there was a strain on their resources. They were fighting for their lives while hosting holiday goers. It simply wasn't right. He stood from his seat. Perhaps there was something about his presence that had shifted, because discussion in the room sputtered out and ceased as his fellow scholars looked to him. I'm going out to fight, he announced calmly. You should all join me. If he was expecting a rousing response, he didn't get it. The other scholars seemed to freeze, their eyes locked on him, then, slowly, their collective gaze slid to someone else. Nemes, agent of the crown. Leaning against the wall, watching the scholars with a general air of contempt, she sneered. No, she said. The scholars looked back to Rathwin. Be reasonable. We are here as guests, our survival is dependent on the success of the ants at holding off the wave. Why shouldn't we assist them? It is our moral obligation. As ever, he slipped into a diplomatic frame of mind. It was his reflex, in these moments, to appeal to an individual's better nature. Intellectually, he knew that was a failing strategy. Our path of retreat has long been secured. Our survival is not tied to the fate of these monsters at all. Are you unmoved by their valorous struggle? Their bold, courageous attempt to conquer that which has defeated even us in the past? If they succeed, the history books will speak of this endeavor for 1,000 years as a turning point in the unfolding story of Pangara. The Golden City has a chance to earn its place in those pages, to be a part of that great tale. The name of our great and glorious city will ring down the centuries as contributing, even in a small way, to all that is good and right in our world, moving forward, unafraid of the dungeon. This is a moment that we must seize. It will not do for it to be known that we stood idly by while others carved the path to victory without us. Surely you can see the political and reputational stakes in this conflict. We shouldn't shy away, but be unafraid to make bold strokes. Voice ringing with conviction and the nigh irresistible persuasive power of his skills, Rathwin stood, hand extended outwards to Nemes, inviting her to step forward into the wondrous future he had painted for them. Tears shining in their eyes, the other scholars looked back to the palace official. Nemes spat on the floor. Your effort is wasted on me, Mage Werelos, stop trying. You have only been allowed to come here to observe and study, nothing else. The Golden City will not risk Magio scholars fighting for these ants. Your request is denied. Any further attempts at persuasion will result in this trip being summarily cancelled. Am I clear? Eyes wide, the scholars slowly turned to look back at Rathwin. Their faces were pale, terrified their precious research would be taken away from them. Rathwin's shoulders slumped. Nemes smirked. The scholars flinched, but couldn't hide their relief. After a long moment, the proud diplomat drew himself up to his full height. If you will excuse me, I would like to step outside for a moment, he said stiffly. You are permitted, Nemes replied. Turning away from her contemptuous look, Rathwin adjusted his robes with quiet dignity, stepped out, closed the door behind him, then took off running. Inside the room, Camsworth and Lady Mauritius exchanged glances. "We might also step outside," Camsworth said with a cough. "Just to stretch our legs a bit."